Hello, I'm Michael Pierce, and this is The Human Condition. Our topic today is mental health and alternative models of treatment. Today we'll be talking about how to think about mental health in alternative ways that really get to the root cause and actually fix and reverse some of these problems. That's a very bold statement, and I know I'm going to anger a lot of people because I don't want you to think that we can cure everybody. However, I think that the idea of false hope is a real problem. We have allowed false hope to be too much of a factor in the world today, and we've made these no man's lands carve-outs where we say in mental health, oh my God, you cannot address that without psychiatric drugs and dangerous medications. You cannot address this without electroconvulsive therapy. And I think that it's very important for us to realize that there's a lot more hope and there's a lot more potential for us to work out the root causes because we have captured agencies and we have captured science and corrupted science in the journal system of the peer-reviewed literature. So we need to take back science. So I'd like to share with you that over 100 years ago when chiropractic was invented, there came to be developed in different states these hospitals that treated mental illness with chiropractic. Now, I'm not saying that the cause of all mental illness is a spinal subluxation. I'm saying that the spinal subluxation in the chiropractic model was very important. Now, to some of you, the idea of chiropractic is just very reductionist, and it's just cracking a vertebra or moving a bone back into position. And chiropractic is really not that. Chiropractic is really not just that. It certainly is that, but it isn't only that, and it isn't required to do that. In fact, sometimes in the old days, the way I was taught at Palmer College in chiropractic was that the wise chiropractor adjusted less frequently than they actually would deliver an adjustment. They would measure the patient, determine that they were not out of alignment or not in a subluxated state, and say, nope, no adjustment today. They would check the person and say, nope, you're holding your adjustment, because they were doing all the other things that the chiropractic philosophy is about, which is diet and detoxification and exercise and hygiene and mental health. And all of that contributed to a person holding their adjustment, holding their alignment, and staying in the place that the chiropractor wanted them to be structurally so that they could have a good brain function. And so that really gets to our model, which is mental health is partly genetic, it's partly structural and electrical, which has to do with chiropractic, neurofeedback, EMDR, eye movement therapy, and desensitization, which is and repatterning, which is the ability to bring blood flow to the front of the brain. It is acupuncture, it is exercise, and then another category is chemistry. That would be toxicology and toxicity and excess of any food or any nutrient, and deficiency of any food or nutrient that is necessary for a person. That involves macronutrients like protein, fat, and carbs, and it involves micronutrients like trace minerals and subvitamins like vitamin B1 or vitamin B5. The third involves emotional trauma and actual psychological components, which is what we address in counseling. Now, I don't do that, and chiropractors don't do that, but it's certainly a part of care, and it involves the psychology of counseling, group counseling, family counseling, journal writing, group therapy, discovery exercises, and vision quests, all the types of things that the Native Americans did and other cultures have done to try to get in touch with themselves and who they are and what makes them tick. There's certainly a place for drugs. However, what I think has happened in the United States is that the drug industry has carved out these areas where when a certain symptom appears, whether it be physical or emotional or mental, we kind of say, oh, well, that's no one can trod there in the natural world. Only medical people in an emergency room can deal with something like schizophrenia or something like a psychotic break or something like that. And I just want to push back against that because one of my great professors in college was a philosophy professor who was a conscientious objector. And Arthur Herman at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point used to tell me and tell our classes that when he was a conscientious objector, he was sentenced by the judge for not going to war to be able to be an orderly at a mental institution. And so what they had done as these peaceniks, instead of giving drugs and instead of going to war to the patients, they had promised that they would get up at any hour of the night and go out and walk with the patients. And so they would go out and walk with the patients, and they would exercise with them, and they would eat with them, and any hour of the day they would get up and move with them and do things with them and talk with them. And that was extremely important in stabilizing people that had difficult problems. I also want to mention William Walsh and his theories about how even serious diseases like bipolar disorder, the subtypes of bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, serious mental health, serious maximum depression, there's severe depression, all of these things have been addressed by nutrition in some cases. Now, I'm not saying, again, that this is the cause and the cure for everything that's wrong in mental illness, but that I think that perhaps it's possible for you to think with me that maybe a special interest group has captured too much of this population and that we have to claw it back from them. I'd like to know what you think in the comments below. So the idea of fear and severity and extremeness and a lack of understanding of the chemical models and not seeing patients through. When as an intern you never see patients through a crisis to solution, you don't build confidence. So it's very important that patients, and it's very important that doctors and candidate doctors and orderlies and interns and nurses get to participate in internships where they see and participate in very difficult cases getting resolved naturally. I've done that, and I've trained people for nearly 30 years in that method, and I was trained very well in those methods. And so I think it's responsible for us to pay attention to this and to look at the ideas that it could be much more simple than just giving a drug or saying that this person is now not a candidate for natural health care in mental health.